Let's go to Chris Whipple, author of The Gatekeepers, How the White House Chiefs of Staff Define Every Presidency. He joins us now to talk some more about what's going on in Washington. Chris, thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This was a position, the Chief of Staff position, that started with Richard Nixon. What was the idea back then?
Well, it's almost impossible to overstate the importance of the Chief of Staff's position. I mean, Haldeman wrote the template for it, despite the fact that he was devoured by Watergate. Haldeman's a fascinating story in the book, by the way. The White House Chief of Staff often makes the difference between success and disaster. And just to give you a quick historical analogy, Jimmy Carter was arguably the most intelligent president elected in the 20th century. But Ronald Reagan understood something that Jimmy Carter never grasped, and that is that an outsider president has to have an empowered White House Chief of Staff to execute his agenda and to tell him what he doesn't want to hear. Reagan found that in the form of James A. Baker III. Jimmy Carter thought he could run the White House by himself. Does that sound familiar?
Well, I'm going to ask you whether or not the Chief of Staff is then the voice of reason. But if you have a president who's not going to listen to that voice of reason, are you doomed?
Yes. The short answer is yes. This will be mission impossible for John Kelly unless he goes in with certain conditions. I mean, the definition of insanity would be to try to do the job with the same authority that hapless Reince Priebus had. He never had the authority to walk, and he never had, quite frankly, the courage to go in to the Oval Office, close the door behind him, and tell Donald Trump hard truths. Kelly has to be able to do that, and he has to, the first condition should be that everyone reports through him to Donald Trump. Supposedly, as of now, he hasn't made any of those demands.
Okay, everybody, including Jared Kushner, the son-in-law, Ivanka Trump, the much-trusted daughter.
Well, family, no. Family is an exception. And, if you're a really smart and savvy White House Chief of Staff like Jim Baker under Ronald Reagan, you make alliances. Jim Baker had a target on his back. The hardliners, the ones who wanted Reagan to be Reagan, came after him. But he was smart enough to make Nancy Reagan an ally. Michael Deaver, who was deputy chief and likes family to Reagan, was an ally, and Baker was able to function and prevail. But I'll be surprised. We'll see what happens. But Kelly, it does not strike me as another Jim Baker. There are very few like him.
The other part of the job, or at least for Reince Priebus, it seemed to be, was to be a line to Congress. He's a Republican Party guy, and he was meant to sort of give those in Congress a bit of a line back to the president, so both sides knew what was going on. Do you expect that John Kelly will be that?
Well, Kelly knows the Hill. I mean, he's worked on Capitol Hill, so that would be a plus. He didn't know it the way Rahm Emanuel knew it, or Jim Baker knew it, or Ken Duberstein knew it. But he's got to be able to count votes. The healthcare debacle is just the latest example of a White House that can't do anything right. I mean, it can't even issue executive orders that are enforceable. It can't pass legislation. It can't prioritize the president's agenda. It can't get anybody on the same page. In a functioning White House, all of that flows from an empowered White House Chief of Staff. But there's no evidence that Donald Trump wants such a person around. We'll see.
We will see. Chris Whipple, sir, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.